Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel. Once again, I'm Dr. Bobby Price, and today I'm going to teach you how to boost or increase what are called NK or natural killer cells. Okay, now I did not make that name up. These are cytotoxic lymphocytes, part of your immune system, that not only identify, target, eliminate, and destroy with prejudice viral infected cells and cancerous cells. Okay, so at the beginning of the pandemic, let's roll back for a second. At the beginning of the pandemic, and when I say at the beginning, I mean in February or March of 2020. I had just gotten back from Asia. And when I was going through the airport in China, it was empty, and I had never seen it that empty. Remember, I lived in Japan for like 5 years, so I'm always going through China. And I thought it was funny. But when I finally get back to the US, they're talking about this whole virus that is coming. And I'm thinking to myself, what? I just came through China. And so I put out a video, and one of the number one things I said then, and I stand 10 toes on it right now, is that when your body is healthy and when you tap into and focus on your innate or natural immune system, you really don't have to worry about the vast majority of not only viruses, but even cancer as well too. And the reason why I say that, before you start Googling and, tossing me out with quackery, even when you do chemo and radiation, it's important that you know two things. First, the only things those things do is kill tissue, okay? The reason why I say tissue instead of cancerous cells is because they kill both cancerous cells and healthy tissue. Okay, so that's the only thing they do. And they have many, many side effects, which we've all heard about and sometimes experienced with family members. Okay, even with viruses, there's so many viruses that people, unfortunately, they get these viruses and they go to their doctor and they say you're never going to be able to get rid of it. Okay, there's a reason for that. Okay, now I know the notion is that, okay, once you get the virus, you got the virus, and anybody who comes into contact with that virus will go through that same thing. But there's a lot of people who come in contact with viruses, but they never actually get the virus, okay? The reason why? Because of their natural immunity, all right? So this is so important for those reasons, but also so important because you have to realize that unfortunately, our health is under attack, especially in first world countries. And I don't even like that term, we'll say Western countries, okay? Because the food is horrible. I've said it on multiple occasions. America's food is banned in other countries. It's banned in the EU, which is 28 countries in Europe. It's banned in Japan. It's banned in China. Most of America's food is banned. And when I say their food, I'm not talking just about, Fruit Loops and, Skittles. I'm talking about the dairy is banned. I'm talking the chicken is banned. Okay? And it's getting worse. Do a quick search and you'll see the FDA, who I worked for, approved GMO salmon about 12 years ago, has approved lab-grown salmon and meat most recently this year, okay? It's approved Bill Gates's appeal wrapping to go around veggies that are organic, okay? So not just regular conventional veggies, but it's approved it to go around organic vegetables and fruits, okay? And consider it organic, all right? So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what your diet is today. If you are eating predominantly out of the supermarket, our health is under attack. And especially when you consider the fact that 80% of people took the jab, okay? And we can see all of the new information that's coming out about how initially they talked about, that mRNA technology would get in the body and then be excreted. And here we are 3-4 years later, they're doing tests. It's still in the body. And not only is it still in the body, it's still producing that spike protein. And now we know that spike protein is very dangerous for our overall health, our heart health, our immune health, and so many other things, okay? And as a matter of fact, it's important that you know this natural killer cell that I'm about to talk about. If you beat cancer, and I know I keep saying that word and I know I'm not supposed to say it, but if you beat it because of your immune system. You did not beat it because of the therapy. Okay, and I'm saying that because even when you use radiation, localized radiation therapy to target and kill the cancer, or you use surgery just to remove it, okay? Cancer isn't just those cells. Cancer is a mechanism. It is a metabolism. Your metabolism has switched from cellular respiration to fermentation. That's what cancer is. Okay, so just because you scoop the cells out, it doesn't mean that the mechanism that created those cells in the first place isn't there. All right, so that's why it's so important to realize what I'm talking about today is using your own immune system to fight this. Okay, because cancer is about to become the #1 cause of death for Americans. Okay, heart disease has been in that place for over 50, 60 years. All right, it's about to be taken out by cancer. Okay, so that's hugely important. So let's get into first, what are NK or natural killer cells? Okay, where did they come from? All right, what do they do? All right, I just talked about it a little bit, and then I'm gonna tell you some ways to boost it. All right, this isn't only in the case that something happens where you need to heal yourself, but this is for prevention as well too. All right, so first let's talk about what they are. These are what are called cytotoxic lymphocytes. Now the cytotoxic part is the fact that these cells make their own very dangerous and toxic chemicals, but these chemicals are used only against either viral infected cells or tumors or cancerous cells. Okay? That's a huge difference between it's just targeting everything. All right. So specifically just these type of cells, they identify, they target, they eliminate, and they destroy with prejudice. All right. Not only that, these cells are made in the bone marrow. This is why when somebody gets bone marrow cancer, they don't have very long to live, because these natural killer cells are made there by stem cells. Okay, and then they either mature or develop in secondary tissues like the spleen, lymph nodes, or even your tonsils. Okay, this is why, again, like I have always had a common sense approach to health. Okay, so I learned that these natural killer cells are in your tonsils and in your lymph nodes. So whenever I would hear somebody tell me that their doctor wants to take out their kids' tonsils or they want to take out their lymph nodes, I'm like, no. the lymph node or the tonsil that is swollen or infected is literally a symptom. Okay, you're not actually addressing the cause. Okay, so that's really important. All right, so just think of these natural killer cells like holistic gangsters just riding around in your body, patrolling, looking for anything that is detrimental to your health. Okay, you have about 2 billion natural killer cells in your body, roaming, patrolling, looking for anything that's not supposed to be there. And the cool thing is, a viral cell or a cancerous cell will wear particular clothing. And that's how the NK cell or the natural killer cell will identify. It'll see the receptor and say, oh, you're not supposed to be here. Gangster activity at that point. All right, so this is a very important conversation, because as we move forward, immune conditions are going to be the real issue. When I say immune conditions, I'm talking about autoimmune conditions. All right, that's lupus, that's Hashimoto's, that's multiple sclerosis, that's rheumatoid arthritis. It's a long list. And 80% of people who have autoimmune conditions are women. Okay, that's cancer, that's viral infection. It covers that whole gamut. So if you got this game, you in the game. All right, so without any further ado, let's get into it. Things that could boost and increase the activity and the production and the response of natural killer cells. Number 1, manage your stress. Okay, keyword manage. I know we live in a world where it's very difficult to be stress-free, okay? Now, some of you out there are cool like the fan on the wall, but most of us out here, we got stress in our life. The most important thing is to properly manage it. Manage it through yoga, manage it through breathing techniques, manage it through meditation, manage it through music. Get off the trap music, get on some Earth, Wind, and Fire, get on some Marvin Gaye, okay? Get on some Bob Marley, calm down your spirit, all right? So these are things that you can do to properly manage, and then put in coping mechanisms. Be patient, all right? Count down from 5. Woo-side if you have to, like Martin, all right? So manage your stress, and the reason why that's so important is because whenever you stress, it actually suppresses your NK cell function, okay? So not only are you stressing yourself, but you're making yourself sicker in the process of making yourself exposed to becoming sick, all right? So that's one. Number 2, if you have an unhealthy gut, you need to focus on your gut. And I know I always said that health begins and ends in the gut, but it's so true. I tell people all the time, 80% of your immunity is formed in the gut. Now, these natural killer cells are made in the bone marrow. However, they go to the gut, and part of what the bacteria does in the gut is it actually helps these cells mature and activate, okay? See, these cells are made in the bone marrow, but they have to become mature and develop and then activate, okay? So it's just really important to understand when you have an unhealthy gut, you're gonna have an unhealthy immune system as well too, all right? Number 3, increase your omega-3s, okay? I don't care what diet that I see. I work with people with all kinds of diet. And no matter what diet, most people are actually deficient in omega-3s, okay? Most people don't eat enough healthy fats. All right. And the other issue is that most people are eating very unhealthy fats like omega-6s. So increasing your omega-3s is so important, specifically EPA and DHA. And the reason why they're so important is because they actually enhance the activity of natural killer cells. Okay. So it's really important to get those healthy omega-3s in. I get mine in by algae, so things like kelp, seaweed. As you know, I have Irish sea moss, so I literally take maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of Irish sea moss every other day. I make a gel out of it, so I'm getting omega-3s that way. I grow purslane. I put that in my salad. Most people, and even nutritionists, don't know that the green leafy vegetable purslane is high in omega-3s as well too. You can get EPA and DHA also from nuts as well too. So I love Brazil nuts and walnuts as well too. So get your omega-3s in because it's gonna help with these natural killer cells, all right? The next thing, fasting, okay? Fasting, if you think about it, no matter what your religion or who your prophet is or who your Messiah is, all of them have fasted at one point, okay? All of them have fasted at one point. And we think it's just for spiritual reasons, to increase mental clarity. No, it's also for healing the body too. You have to remember, this body is our temple, okay? This is our sanctuary. We come down in spiritual form to have a human experience in a physical form, okay? So this body is the vehicle for that experience. Okay, and one of the ways you could really connect yourself divinely is through fasting. And I know the idea for most people, not eating is one, terrifying, because people have been, heard so much about how important it is to eat and never skip a meal, things of that nature. But when I tell you, not only have I experienced this personally, I've had injuries. Like if I tweak my knee or ankle, I'll just fast for like 3 days. And the next thing I know, especially if it's not a severe injury, in 3 days, the pain is gone, okay? Now that's just physical, all right? But we're not thinking about what it's doing to us on on a biochemical and biological level. And one of the things that fasting does is it enhances our natural killer cells' fighting ability. Okay, so what I mean by that is this. When you're doing fasting, all right, so naturally, the natural killer cells know exactly what to do. They're going to protect you, all right? So what I take it as, when you think about fasting, before, it's like Will Smith when he was in the movie Ali, and I saw that he got trained by professional boxers, okay? And getting trained by professional boxers, by the end of the movie, when I tell you, like, Will Smith looked like he knew what he was doing in the ring, he did, because he actually learned how to box, okay? But fasting is like saying, all right, yeah, you learn how to fight, but would you rather fight, or would you rather me upgrade you to the skill level of a prime Mike Tyson? Of course, you want to be prime Mike Tyson with the hands, all right? So that's what fasting does for your literal NK cells, okay? So that's why it's so important to understand the importance of fasting for that reason, but also because it reprograms these NK cells too, all right? It reprograms them to a level where they can actually discover the virus or the cancerous cell even better, all right? So fasting is something you definitely want to incorporate, all right, into your lifestyle. All right, the other thing is you want to move, okay? So exercise, that's going to increase NK cells. But you got to get rid of the processed food. You got to get rid of the trash food, all right? I tell you, and I do this with my friends who ask me to do it. They ask me, hey, I need to get my life together, bro. Just come over, tell me what to eat, tell me what I need to get rid of in the house. I'm like, cool, so I bring my trash bag. When I tell you I usually bring like 5 or 6 because I'm usually throwing everything away. Okay? I'm usually throwing everything away. Most of our food, especially in Western countries, is trash. Okay? And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be, sensational. I'm saying that because most of America's food is banned in other countries. Okay? And I'm not just talking about Fruit Loops and Skittles. The dairy in America is banned in other countries. Okay? The corn, banned in other countries. The chicken, banned in other countries. I can go down a long list of things that are made here in America that you would consider like, well, that's just one. It's not one ingredient. You just don't know it. But they're banned in other countries. And when I say the other countries, I'm talking about the entire EU, which is the European Union, which is like 28 countries. Banned in Japan, banned in China, okay? China is one of the largest producers of like GMO food, but most of it is sent to America, okay? So most of the food that people are eating are highly processed and horrible for your health, especially what I'm going to talk about next is your gut health, okay? You got to get your gut health together, all right? Now, you've heard me say your health begins and ends in your gut. And when I say that, it's true, but it's also true for your NK cells as well, too. Now, they're not necessarily made in your gut because I've said before, probably 70 to 80% of your immune system is made in your gut. Your NK cells are made in your bone marrow by your stem cells, okay? However, they have to be matured and they have to be activated. And one of the places that they matured and activated is by the bacteria in your gut, in your microbiome. So if you don't have those healthy gut bacteria because you're overran with unhealthy gut bacteria and an overgrowth of candida, then you're not going to mature these NK cells, okay? Which means that they're not going to be able to perform the way they need to. And this is why all of a sudden colon cancer and colorectal cancer are through the roof and are so deadly. All right, so it's hugely important. You have to heal your gut, all right? I've been thinking about coming up with a gut program because what I'm starting to realize is that this is the key to health. If you have an autoimmune condition, Doesn't matter what it is, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, lupus, multiple sclerosis, the list goes on and on and on. It starts in the gut. It starts with a leaky gut. All right, so you have to fix your gut. All right, that is so important. All right, the next one I would say, and we'll finish with this one. The next one is going to be what in Japanese is called Shinrin Yoku. Okay, this is forest bathing. Okay, this is literally just walking through the forest. And this is something that people in Japan would do. And I did when I went to Kyoto, walking through the bamboo forest. And I noticed when I came out of there, I was so peaceful and I just felt great when I came out of there. And I did a little, and a lot of people would go for that reason. Like you would see people who would say, I'm depressed, so I'll go to the bamboo forest, I'll go to the forest, I'll go to the park. And especially because most of us live in metropolitan cities today, we don't get this type of activity. But what they now know about simply just walking through a forest is that it not only increases natural killer cell activity, but it also increases the cytotoxic proteins that actually attack the viral infected cell or the cancerous cell as well too. And not only does it do that when you walk through a forest bathing, but it also decreases cortisol levels as well too. Cortisol is the stress hormone, okay? That could either come about as a result of not properly managing your stress, or not sleeping well, or having a really horrible sleep cycle, okay? Or not getting enough sun, all right? So those are the things that could actually boost your natural killer cell activity that'll not only improve your immune system, but help you stage off, fight, prevent disease that is very difficult to get rid of once you're diagnosed. And we're seeing people who aren't diagnosed in stage 1, they're being diagnosed in stage 4, and it's aggressive. And many times they have multiple cancers. Okay, so it's just really important to understand that you have control over your natural immunity. All right, there are things that you can do to build it. There are things that you can do to enhance it. All right, so hopefully you have enjoyed today's video. You want to do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button. Only about 60% of you are actually subscribe to the channel. Do me a favor. You want to show me some love? Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Share this with somebody if there's somebody you care about. If you care about them, you got to share it to them. Okay? So until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.